I was just arrested. I'm born January the 1st. I was arrested the day after my birthday. I just, before that, in December, just had an emergency DNC. As people may not know, that's when you have an emergency miscarriage. I was hemorrhaging, so I was lucky enough to have survived that, but then less than a month later, I was detained.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup.
This is Ashley with Status Coup.
On the ground.
In Philadelphia.
Flint, Michigan. East Palestine, Ohio. Please support the leading independent news outlet on the ground,
covering what the corporate media covers up.
As someone who has both lived this experience and written about it publicly in the Sun Sentinel, I know too well the silence that surrounds the stories. I stand here today not simply to speak, I stand to bear witness. On April 25, 2025, Marie-Ange Blaise, a Haitian immigrant woman, a woman who shared my age, my background, my community, died while in ICE custody at the Broward Transitional Center. Her death is not just a loss. It is an indictment of a system that failed to see her humanity. Let's be clear. This was not an accident. This was the result of systemic neglect, a lack of due process, a denial of dignity. I know this because I lived it and continue to support those going through it as an intercultural liaison consultant. I was once detained in that same facility. I am the living proof that what survives when a system tries to erase you.
Hey, it is Ashley Bishop with Status Coup. We are right now in Pompano Beach, Florida, about an hour north of Miami for the Voices Beyond the Walls Justice for Immigrants protest. Theo, thank you so much for joining us. This is great. I'm really glad to be talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Theo Johnson. I am a U.S. Army combat veteran. Before that, I was a former immigration detainee at Broward Transitional Center. I, too, am a Haitian immigrant, 44-year-old woman. So we share a lot of similarities. The difference is I learned the language of the system. And after I was detained, I went and joined the military, served in combat, and today I work as an intercultural liaison consultant, supporting immigration asylum applicants. And I have also been running a justice campaign for Marie-Ange Blaise and detention and dignity and detention, demanding justice for what is happening and demanding due process because what is happening is an atrocity. So I've been running this campaign with my initiative USG ADF, which I also happened to start that very same month. And I'm here to bring awareness to say that I'm here standing and embodying the voice of Marie-Ange because she was silenced. And I stand at the bridge of privilege being an American citizen, a combat veteran, but also being an immigrant, a Haitian. And I ask you all to look at the humanity and think about what she might have gone through in there. Because behind those doors, it is not pleasant. It is not a vacation. It is sad. It is heart-wrenching. It is very sad to know that she was crying and asking for help and she was not getting the help. I just ask that it doesn't matter who is in detention, why they're in detention. We keep to understanding and remember that human rights is not negotiable.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate for viewers in case it was missed. One, Marie Blaise, I'm sorry, you can correct my pronunciation.
Marie-Ange Blaise.
Sorry. Thank you. No, you're good. I'm sorry. She is the 44-year-old Haitian woman who I referenced who died here at the end of April. And again, this was reported in early May. Yes. And so this is particularly, again, just to reiterate what you said in the beginning of this interview, this is particularly challenging for you to be here because this is the very facility, the immigration detention center, I shouldn't say facility, that you were detained in about, you said 20 years ago?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that? So this was in 2005, I believe you said?
Yes, it was, I was just arrested. I'm born January the 1st. I was arrested the day after my birthday. I just, before that, in December, just had an emergency DNC. As people may not know, that's when you have an emergency miscarriage. I was hemorrhaging, so I was lucky enough to have survived that. But then less than a month later, I was detained. So I was going there through a lot of also physical and illness that I know that she may have experienced as well as a mother. So it was very dehumanizing to go through there. But lucky for me, I spoke English.
Support this critically important on-the-ground reporting as a Status Coup member and get great perks. Become a member right here.
Being somewhere where you don't speak the language is difficult enough. I've lived in places where, English is not the primary language that's spoken there. I understand that. I don't think if you haven't lived somewhere where, your native language is not the primary language, I think it's hard for people to understand just how difficult it can be. Being somewhere like this, where you cannot speak the language and cannot communicate with people, I cannot fathom how just like heart-wrenching that must be for people who are going through it. And I would want to ask, how long were you in detention here?
I was there a little bit under 2 weeks. I was there from January 2nd, and I was released January 12th, yes. Okay. So I was there for just under 2 weeks. I made the best of it, and I knew that I was in a situation that was not pleasant, so I made friendly. As you would hear from many of the guards or any people that works at BTC, they will tell you the detainees that communicate with them are very smiling and friendly, all that stuff. It's just code switching and survival, and I should express that right now. I'm very emotional right now.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, so you were there for 2 weeks, and again, I can imagine this is almost 2 weeks, and you also did say, it was a traumatic experience, as you're, alluding to, and you don't really remember a lot of being there, is what you had said earlier.
Yes. I do. I remember parts, but there's a lot of it that was very shocking. I remember being in the van. I remember and wondering what is happening, so I had to be nice. I don't want to get emotional.
I understand. And, we talked a little bit before here. I mean, you're also a combat vet. It is the morning after 4th of July. There were fireworks all over this area. So, again, all of this it is a lot to take in. There's a big crowd here, so I can understand all of that. I would want to ask to make the most of our time because you have such like a unique perspective and so many different experiences. Just to pick on a thread that I think people will be most interested in this moment. You've used this experience to be an advocate for other people who are, in various parts of the immigration system. Can you talk a little bit about that, how this experience has kind of allowed you to have a perspective that other people, like you said, other people who represent immigrants don't actually have?
Okay, so the experience that I have is after I was arrested by immigration in 2005, that very same year, I also wrote in Collegiate Quarterly, which is a scholarly journal, faith-based, on a faith-based experience. But also that very same year, I got my basic literacy training as a tutor certification to help those navigating and, getting their GED and things like that. I've always been a person that wanted to help. So when I was detained, the attorney was very impressed that I knew some of the things. And so she said, if you had your papers, I would have hired you. So then in 2006, when I did get my work permit, I started working with her. And then that's where my experience started as not a legal assistant that went to school, but a person who had navigated that in there personally. And then a year later, I left, not because I didn't want to work there, but because I joined the military in October 2007. I had then now joined during a time of war. I was welcomed with a sign-in bonus and with the rank of E2, and I was also granted my citizenship because it was a time of war that we were we got our citizenship. I became a citizen November 2008. So when I left the military in 2005, I was able to serve with, I went to get help medically. So I didn't start initially But after 2021, when I graduated from NSU with my criminal justice degree and minor in anthropology, then I went back to working with the same attorney that got me out of the immigration detention, and I file asylum applications. I help Haitian, Senegalese, Latin American clients, and Haitian Creole, French, and sometimes Spanish and English. And so I help them as an intercultural liaison consultant specializing in immigration support, trauma-informed, that understands what they are going through and understands, the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to like reiterate for people, you have so much experience that has allowed you to do this work, and I think it's very important that people who actually like know what it's like to be in a place like this are involved with helping people to get out of a place like this. And as we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that the power of language, and you just mentioned you speak 4 different languages in service of helping people. So can you talk a little bit about that, and just what you said about how your ability to speak English here allowed you to have a different experience than some other people do, and again, just the power in that.
There's always the misconception that I'm an American because I do have a softer accent, and so I'm not Haitian enough, and I'm not American enough. I'm also not Latina enough because I'm also Haitian Dominican on my dad's side. So those are the skills that allow me to service. I didn't go to school for a lot of these things. I am these things by through life tested and lived experience. So I'm Haitian because I speak Creole, and I spoke Spanish because my dad spoke Spanish with me at home. I speak French because I went to school in French in Haiti, and I also speak some German while stationed in Germany. I just love language, and I find that it's a way to give access to those who are silenced, because if somebody was deaf or mute in the room, they would need an interpreter. So that's what I serve as an intercultural liaison consultant that bridges and helps. That's what I use the language. And I still practice my Duolingo every day. Yeah.
That is great. I've fallen off of my Duolingo about several times.
Yes, I'm on that.
Yeah. I want to just like kind of reiterate again another thing that you said, that language grants access. Yes. And access kind of grants power. And I think that that's a really important thing for people to know, people who, are not as, intimately acquainted with all of these different systems as you are. You have such a varied background that it's hard for me to ask a question. So instead, I'm going to ask, what do you want to say to people? Like, what would you want to say to viewers of Status Coup about your experiences with the immigration system, with the detention center that we're standing in front of? Anything else that you think it's important for people to know about as we're kind of, facing Trump's draconian immigration policies right now?
What I want to start with and end with is due process and, dignity and detention. This is affecting me a lot personally, because being here is it is a lot. And as a person who's been disabled for over a decade, it's emotional and re-traumatizing to be here. But I also understand that I have a voice that many do not have and do not understand. I am not an attorney. I am not an elected official. I do not work for any organization and get paid for any organization. I do this myself personally as somebody who navigated this and who thinks, what would I have wanted somebody to do for me? Because I came to the U.S. as an orphan. At 13 years old, I came here. My auntie and uncle brought me here. So my dad had just died when I was 12, and my mom is in Haiti with my siblings. So I have tried the legal avenues, and I've applied, and then that has in turn not worked out because there's some issues with families and some issues with immigration, how it's very hard with these paperwork and also helping with the elderly and things like that, and people from third world countries. I know firsthand what it's like to try and get help. The very same attorney that has helped me with, with my situation was trying to help me with my mom, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. So, but we help with the asylum applicants and those in detention. One of the most heart-wrenching thing is not even the arrest. It's not even the indignity. It's knowing those that have gained their legalities, that we help the clients get the asylum. And then you hear, oh, this client got your asylum. So you're like, yes. And then after that, you'll hear your attorney says, oh, I gotta go, get this client out of detention. And that hurts. I'm, shaking to my boots right now because, it defeats the work that is being done. And I know a lot of people want to say destroy the system. I'm okay with that too, but I'm doing it from the inside to help those stuck in the belly of the beast. And that's why I feel that this work that I do is very important. I'm not as often visible because, again, I am disabled. So I do a lot of the work that I do in my bed. That's why I do the asylum applications with my Mac. So it's very important that we remember dignity and we remember the stigma that is also associated with this, because that is also why a lot of immigrant detainees are not standing up. But I am standing at the forefront of having a privilege of being a U.S. citizen, a combat veteran that fought for this country, a patriot that understands that due process and dignity is under the Constitution and liberty and justice for all.